I'm standing on the edge of the Great Dividing Range at Toowoomba in Queensland. Below me down here you can see Redwood Park. This is about 600 acres of remnant bush along the escarpment. There's a variety of different ecosystems down there, including rainforest and also ironbark woodland. There's a number of endangered species down here which have been the subject of a survey that we've been doing for over 12 months with BirdLife Southern Queensland. And I've got a camera trap set down there. It's been down there for a week and we're looking for a very secretive bird called the black-breasted button quail. This is an endangered species. There's a pocket of it living here on the side of the range, and it's a bird that we don't really know much about. And because it's very secretive, setting camera traps is a great way to learn more about them. So I'm about to head down there and we'll see what the camera trap has found after a week. There's a bit of a path and a bit of bush bashing involved as well. It's going to take about an hour to get to the spot where the camera is. So come along and let's see what we find. Well, the start of the track that we have to go down is a pretty well-formed bushwalking track. Probably goes for a kilometre or so, and then we're going to get to a large fire break that the council have cleared, and then we're going to start bush bashing off there. Just got to be a bit careful here. There's a few scree slopes. This is all a volcanic area, so it can get a little bit rocky and a bit slippery. So once we get close to where the camera trap is set, I'll be referring to a GPS. I recorded the location on the GPS on my phone when we set the camera, because it's pretty much in thick bush and it'd be very hard to find without that. Because I'm here by myself, I've taken a lot of precautions. I've sent that map to people so they know where I am, and I've also got a snakebite bandage, water, food, that kind of thing. I've let people know what time I should be back. Going by yourself is a lot of fun, but there is a risk involved. I'm going to be right out in the middle of nowhere soon down there, so it's important that people know where I am and what time I'm due back, just in case something does happen. And in fact, driving here, I was just driving along the top of the range next to Redwood. There's a nice big healthy 5-foot long brown snake that I saw on the road. And early morning is actually the worst time for snakes because they like to get out and warm up. The middle of the day is not too bad, but early on when they're still looking to warm up, that's when you're going to see them on the tracks, and we've certainly seen a few on the tracks down here and other times. The other thing I've noticed is the Lewin's honey eaters are sending out the warning calls, which is pretty typical but a bit frustrating. It can precede you as you go down through the bush about 20-30 metres ahead of you. But anyway, that's okay, so we'll just keep on going. Okay, so we've made it to the start of the long kind of fire break road trail here that the council have put in. Continues behind me for a bit, then it opens up and we get a bit of a view over the escarpment and down into the area where the camera is and where we find the black-breasted button quail. This little spot here is quite interesting. Behind me here is a fantastic spot to see regent bowerbirds. They're quite often here, both males and females, and the males with a brilliant gold and black. One of the iconic birds in this part of Australia. And also interestingly, if you have a look over here, Redwood Park has had a lot of uses over the years, and in the 1950s there used to be a zoo in the Botanic Gardens here in Toowoomba, and the council decided to let all the animals go down here in Redwood, and they built a fence, very large fence that covers almost the entire 600 acres. You can just see the remnants of it in here, and so we still have part of this fence here. The animals, of course, are long gone. They wouldn't have survived long. There's emus, wallabies, and who knows what else. They're all let go here. And the fence is in disrepair, but it's just part of the history of the park. The park has a fantastic natural and cultural history. There's a lot of indigenous sites in here, which are just starting to be known and protected now. And there's also the remnants of a itinerant workers camp from the 1930s, Eagle Nest Camp, which was a home to hundreds and hundreds of men who basically lived communally during the Great Depression, and people travelled from all around Australia, including Cairns and Melbourne, to get here. And they're actually well supported by the community up on the range in town, but they were largely self-sufficient, growing their own food, keeping stock and that kind of thing. So we're not going to go past that area on our way to get the camera trap, but there's a lot of really interesting things in here which really make this park worthwhile to protect. So we'll just continue down here for a while, and pretty soon we'll get to the area where we're going to start to head off the track into the bush and find where the camera is. Now I've got to talk very softly. Chattering away in the tree just behind me is a male and female Blackface Monarch. They're summer visitors to this part of Australia. They travel here to breed. They're probably just at the end of the breeding season now. They build a nest out of bark and spiderweb in the forks of trees. Just chattering away up the top there. It's possible that the young have just fledged. Really quite exciting just seeing them. I've seen them here maybe once or twice before, but just seeing that family group is very special. So they like the edge of the rainforest, and you can see here on the clearing that this track is opened right up now. It's a little bit exposed, but there are a lot of birds that like the verges. The edges are very good for insect life, so a lot of the insectivorous birds like the edges. We often see wrens and scrub wrens down here. Again, just further down there's a good place for regent bowerbirds as well. So I've made it to the entrance of the track where we're going to start to head bush now. If you have a look just over my shoulder here, you can see a bit of marker tape on that tree. That indicates that's just the entrance to the pathway here where we've got a number of survey sites down there. So anyway, this is where the fun starts. We start to head bush now, which will be good. I know most of the track, so it'll be fine. And interestingly, if you have a look down here, there's been a bit of spraying going on. Now, this weed down here, a couple of years ago during the drought, turquoise parrots came here and were feeding off that. So this little escarpment area is actually a bit of a refuge for a lot of the woodland birds further out west that come in when it's really dry. There's even been plains bustards found down further down off the range that have come through in the dry weather as well. So it might be a weed, but at least it's serving some kind of purpose. But you know, there is a time and a place, and so there's been a lot of spraying and cleaning up. There's a fair few weeds in here, and there's various organisations working on clearing them out. So anyway, let's head down the track now, and this is where the fun really starts. Well, it's a shame to have to break his web, isn't it? But I don't want to get through. You can always rebuild it. We're starting to enter now the territory where we're likely to find the black-breasted button quail. It's what we call dry rainforest or viney thicket, softwood scrub. So what we're looking for to alert us to the presence of black-breasted button quail are little platelets or scrapings that they make. A little disc shape about the size of your hand, just where they clean the leaf litter away and look for insects and arthropods to eat. So we've set the camera in an area where we've seen platelets before, so it's still a little bit of a way off, but we're getting pretty close to the territory for them now. So I'll just break this poor spider's web here, and we'll have to keep on going. Sorry about that, mate. Beautiful web too, all yellow. I've left half of it there, maybe you can rebuild it. Anyway, now the reason why we're setting a and actually have a look at this here. This is a native land snail. Now these shells get dropped by the pitters and broken open. The little grey snails inside is something they like to eat. They'll drop them on rocks to eat them. Haven't seen a pitter here, but we know that they are here because of the evidence with the snail shells. The reason why we're setting a camera trap is because they're very secretive birds, and camera traps are quite useful for birds that you can't readily observe, and also in areas that you can't get ready access to. So if we were to try and study them out here in person, or if that was the only means by which we're studying them, you can see it's a bit of a mission just getting there, let alone the chance of seeing them. So you can set a camera trap for a long period. This has been running for a week, this particular one, which is about the length of the battery life. Different camera traps can have different spans on the batteries. You can also have Wi-Fi enabled ones, but that draws a lot more power. So I've just got a middle of the road one that will give me about a week to 10 days of battery life. There's a whole lot of storms predicted this afternoon, which is one reason why I'm keen to get it now. So you can set the camera traps for video or for stills. They can, with the videos, they can capture behaviour of animals, so you can look at interactions between the same species or different species, but it really depends on what you're lucky enough to catch. So you've got to think of camera traps as a means to sample what's going on in the area, so then you've got to deal with it statistically the way that you would with any other population sample. But they're also useful in estimating population numbers in an area and things like that. So I'm getting a bit close now, just further up around here, so I'm going to switch the GPS on the phone and refer to the map. Okay, so the app's telling me that it's about 50 metres up there, and basically there's no point in trying to follow it as you go, so you just bush bash about 30-40 metres and check in again, see how you're going. So it gets a bit thick, but we'll get through it, and then we'll just check the phone again once we close in. This little ridge levels off a bit, and that's one thing that attracted us to placing the camera there, because there's a nice bit of leaf litter on the more level section up there. Righto, so let's start the bush bashing. Well, the app said I'm only halfway there, so easy, I'll keep going. There's another, some very thorny bushes here. There's another land snail. Been hit by a pitter. My backpack's caught. There it goes. Ah, there it is. I spot the strap on the back of the tree. Well, here it is. This is what all the fuss has been about. I had this rubber band around it just in case it rained, and there's storms predicted today now. I expect the batteries will be flat. I'll open it up in a tick. If they're not flat, we'll be able to just do a quick review of the shots that it's taken. If they are flat, then we'll have to look at them on a computer, but we always review them on a computer properly anyway. So there it is. I'll get it down in one sec. This is the spot that we were looking at. This is the kind of forest floor that the black-breasted buttonquails favour. To be honest, it doesn't look like there's any scrapings that have been going on here, but it's a bit hard to tell. There's a bit of clearing down the front here, but anyway, we'll just see what the camera shows us. Well, alright, we'll have a go opening it up now and just seeing what we can see. Take this rubber band off. That was just to give a bit of a seal. We've had a bit of light rain, but there's a storm this afternoon, and I'm not entirely sure this one's really that waterproof. So we just undo it. And we'll turn it back. Just turn it off, turn it back on, see if it's going to power up. It does, good. Okay, so it's got a bit of battery life in it, that's good. Let's go through. Press replay. Yeah, so I'm just cycling through here. These are just thumbnails from the video clips. It's certainly been triggered plenty of times. It's always tricky, particularly when you're trying to set one of these things in areas of foliage. You don't want the movement of the foliage to set it off. You get lots of false triggers, and I imagine a lot of these will actually be false triggers. I've put it on a medium sensitive setting, so to try and avoid a bit of that. But you know, if there's a small animal in there that's not moving a lot, you want that to be able to trigger it. So there's a bit of balancing involved. When it comes to sorting photos, I've got this set on video, but if you are doing just photos, you can end up with tens of thousands of photos, and there's actually AI software that's been developed which is even more accurate than people at classifying the animals. So you can sort through them all that way very quickly. But just going through here, it's pleasing to see that something's going on, but I'm going to have to get that on the computer to have a proper look at it. So anyway, part one is a success. We've got the thing, so now we just have to climb back up the hill and get out of here. So this is very exciting. We'll see what this looks like on the computer next. Alright, well this is where it gets exciting. I'm home now. I've got the camera trap here. So what we're going to do is take the little micro SD card out, There it is there. That will slide into this SD adapter. And that then goes into this little USB adapter. So there it is there. Then all I have to do is plug this into the computer. And Bob's your uncle, there it is. It's come up USB drive E. So let's have a look at what's here. Alright, well they're all JPEG still images, so obviously there wasn't enough movement or enough consistent movement to trigger the video function. So if I scroll down here, there's 6,195 images. Now that's going to take an age for me to sort through by myself. So let's just have a look at a couple just randomly and we'll see how we go. Now I've got to be honest, I'm not confident that we will have got a black-breasted button quail just based on the inspection of the site where there were no platelets or scrapings. But you never know, so we'll just go through. The first few are usually, sometimes you get yourself setting up the camera. So we might just skip the first few and just come down here. And now the information it gives me, I've got the date, the 16th of February, the time, 9:12 in the morning, and the temperature, 25 degrees Celsius. So there's a lot of extra data that comes with it as well that can be useful for analysing later. So we'll just start skipping through these and see if we notice anything. There's the sunlight moving is quite obvious, and also a bit of foliage moving. So obviously there's going to be a lot of false triggers here just based on the high density of foliage and the movement there. This camera also has an infrared function, so if there's any movement at night, so let's just scroll down here to where we see a few that were taken at night. I'll just change, here we go here. So at night you get black and white images here. There's not enough light to make colour rendering worthwhile. So again, nothing discernible there. Computer's just taking a bit to update. There's 6,000 photos there, so there's a lot of thumbnails to generate and images to generate. Alright, well I'm going to take my time just going through. I will actually check every single photo. Now, is this a success or a failure? Well, it's actually a success. There's no such thing as no data, because let's say I go through all those 6,000 photos and I don't get any black-breasted button quails. Well, that in itself is data. We know that they're in the park, so now we've got to think about why aren't there any here? Is it where I set the camera? Is it the time of year? Do they move around different areas of the park? Is it the weather? There's all sorts of factors involved. So no data is actually data, and there will be something worthwhile that we can pull out of this even if we don't have a black-breasted button quail. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much.